Hey my lovelies, I have been asked for so many years to talk about my DVDs and my favourite films, and I honestly don't know what to talk about in this video. So I'm just going to show you all the DVDs that I currently have here in my flat, minus a few that are probably still at my old place. Since the age of about 15, I've always gone into HMV and picked up some old school DVDs in the really cheap section, or I've gone and just picked up my favourite films. Everything is so online and on Netflix and Now TV, which Douglas and I use all the time, but I personally really like to have the physical copy. Maybe it's because I was one of the last generations to have things like VCRs, actual tapes that you had to rewind yourself, and they used to make the most horrific like sound. But anyway, that's why I like to have DVDs, because I think it's just nice to have the physical copies of things. I'm going to start with box sets because I feel like box sets is something that's really hard to say. Box sets. I do actually have the whole box set to every single Friends episode, but that's still at my old place. The first box set I have is Skins. This was the complete series of Skins until the third generation came out. So this is first, second, third and fourth series. I don't know anyone my age in the UK who didn't enjoy Skins, especially the first generation of Skins. I loved Chris. Oh, without giving it away, when that thing happened to Chris, that's probably giving it away, isn't it, for those of you who haven't watched it, but basically I cried my eyes out. Of course, I've got the Inbetweeners because, again, who doesn't love the Inbetweeners? I've got Gavin and Stacey, and then I've got the box set of Home Alone. I only like the first two. The third and the fourth one I don't like. It's just not the same without Macaulay Culkin. Why can't I say that? I'm thinking about it too much. You guys know who I mean. I don't know why I can't say that. I can normally say his name. Next is My So-Called Life. I bought this last Christmas because I wanted a series to get into. I love Claire Danes and I love Jared Leto. I was so miffed that this was like the whole box set and it ended really weirdly, and I was like, oh, is that it? I really liked this because obviously it was done in the 90s, I was born in the 90s, there wasn't much to it, but it was just fun to watch. Next is Misfits. This is series 1 and 2, the only two series that I genuinely enjoyed. The guy in the middle here with the curly hair, you guys know I love guys with curly hair. You just have to look at my boyfriend to realise that I like guys with curly hair. He has an Irish accent and he's got curly hair and just I'm not going to explain everything that I talk about because it would take too long. So if anything takes your interest, then just Google it. And then the last box set that I have here in my flat is Sex and the City, and this is actually my mum's box set, which I keep forgetting to give back to her. It's got series 1 to 6. Just love Sex and the City. I've got a pile here of films that I kind of flung in this pile as my favourite films. Even though there are films that I have really enjoyed in the other pile of stuff, this is the stuff that sort of stood out to me. The first one is Billy Elliot. I've watched Billy Elliot so many times. The next is This Is 40, and I don't have the second film, but I have watched the second film. I love both the films. I just think it's a really relatable film and it's really funny. It's got Paul Rudd in and I really like him. Next is Song for Marion. It's a really British indie type film. It's not full of all this crazy cinematography or anything like that. It's just basic and lovely and heartwarming, and I cried and it made me feel emotional, and I really recommend. Do you know what I'm going to do? It's going to be a task and a half, but to help you guys out, I'm going to write every single thing that I mention in the info bar. It's not Christmas until I watch Love Actually. I remember when it came out. When did it come out? I must have been about 11. I love films that have loads of different love stories in one, and there's amazing actors in this. Next is Clueless. This is one of my favourite films. I watch this again and again and again. It's such a 90s chick flick film. I never get bored of it. Next is Larry Crown. Now I can't remember why I put this in my favourites. In my head I instantly thought, love that film. But again, another really feel good film. The Blind Side is really heartwarming and emotional. Next is The Dark Knight. Totally different to anything that I would normally like. It's not necessarily a film that I would watch over and over again, but it was the first action superhero film that I actually wanted to see after I saw the trailer. The trailer looked awesome, and I said to my dad, hey, let's go watch it when it came out. And I watched it and I really enjoyed it, although I absolutely hate clowns and I absolutely hate masks and people that wear masks. I do find that it sets off my anxiety a bit. I don't do good with violence and scary stuff and things that make me think about death, but Heath Ledger does a fantastic job in this film. I really loved it until I then had to do a media studies thing on it for about a whole year, and we had to watch it a zillion times, and that kind of ruined it for me. I wouldn't watch any other Batman film or Spider-Man film or anything like that. This is the only one that I like. Next is Titanic. Doesn't need explaining. Love and Other Drugs is a fab film. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway in. It's a little bit different than most rom-coms. I really recommend it. Next is the Inbetweeners movie. Like the box set, I love the Inbetweeners. Next is Project X. Douglas introduced me to this when we first started going out. I love the soundtrack to this, and it's just a really fun film. It's actually based on a true story. A few kids do a house party and it goes very out of control. If you like Skins, then you'd like this. Next is The Notebook. Need I say more? Next is a very different one, and it's Requiem For A Dream. I first watched this when I was about 15, 16. Thought it was the most flippin' amazing dark film ever. But I'd have to say I watched it a couple of years ago and thought, wow, okay, this is a little bit more messed up than I thought it was. It's quite a weird film, but I do recommend it for anyone who's really into cinematography and the direction of films. It has Jared Leto in, which is the main reason I first watched it. And if you know Jared Leto as an actor and not just from 30 Seconds to Mars, yes, this is a 30 Seconds to Mars triad. It's not Illuminati or anything like that. You know Jared Leto as an actor, you know that he's in some very weird films, and this is probably one of his weirdest ones. He does an amazing job and he's an amazing actor, but I do have to warn you guys, if you are easily offended, please don't watch this. It's from lots of different people's points of view, and in some way they are actually connected to each other, and it's all about the American dream, and they're trying to use drugs in a way to achieve their dreams, and it all just goes tits up. I do think it's kind of worth the watch. Next, it's one of my all-time favourite films, Kick-Ass! Why it's one of my all-time favourite films, I do not know, because you'd think I don't like action films or films that kill people and stuff like that, but I just love Kick-Ass. I love the soundtrack, I love the cinematography, I love Aaron Johnson, curly head guy again, and then of course I love Kick-Ass 2. Some people were disappointed by Kick-Ass 2, I freaking loved it. Next is a film that I've watched once at cinema, and it's About Time, but I bought it on DVD because it was on offer. Watching the film, and I said to Douglas, I feel like this is made by the people who did Love Actually. And then when we got out of the cinema and I googled it, it actually was done by the people that did Love Actually. Oh, it's such a lovely film. I love this film, so definitely watch it. Great Gatsby. So good. It's done by Baz Luhrmann, who is one of my favourite directors, and he does one of my all-time favourite films, and of course it's got Leonardo DiCaprio in it. Next is Notting Hill. If you haven't watched Notting Hill, watch it. It's just a lovely rom-com, very British and very, again, just genuine and relatable, and it's just a really lovely watch, and it's a classic. And the last one on this pile is Saving Mr. Banks. I watched this recently and I really enjoyed it. It's about how Mary Poppins got turned into a film, and Tom Hanks plays Mr. Walter Disney. There's a part of me that made me feel a bit sad at the end of the film. I feel like the author of Mary Poppins didn't actually really want the film to be this kind of big musical animation. I haven't really managed to think whether she was actually happy with it in the end or not, and that makes me feel a bit sad. I don't know, but it is a really good watch. Next are some not so good films. The first one is Scott Pilgrim. I didn't really understand what was going on. It was very weird. I did enjoy it personally. Next is The Tree of Life. I bought this because it was like 5 stars, and The Times and The Guardian and The Independent are like awe-inspiring, magnificent, a masterpiece. I thought, oh, brilliant. I can appreciate a good artsy film. I like stuff like that. But personally, I kind of was just like, what? when I watched this. Next is Warm Bodies. It's a fairly good film. I thought it was going to be better than it was. Next is Funny People, and if you've never watched it, and you like comedies and rom-coms and that kind of genre, then yeah, watch it, but it's not something I would run out to watch again. The Heat, again, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. It was funny, there were some really funny moments in it, and I do love both the actresses that are in it, but it wasn't amazing. Next is Look Who's Talking. I prefer the original of Look Who's Talking. Next is the Eminem DVD. You guys might not know this about me, but when I was younger, I was obsessed with Eminem, probably due to my dad. We used to listen to Eminem in the car all the time, and there's this one song that Eminem does with his daughter Hailey, and me and my dad used to sing that song together. He used to sing the Eminem bits and I used to sing the Hailey bits. But yeah, I have that. Next pile, I have another Love and Other Drugs. I think one of them must be Doug's. Next is The Beach. It's got Leonardo DiCaprio in it again as a young lad. and it's a really, really good film, and I think it's a classic. If you've seen him in Blood Diamond and you like Blood Diamond, then you probably like this, even though it's not the same. Well, it kind of is, I think. I feel like I'm digging myself a hole when I talk about some of these DVDs. I don't want the film police to come and be like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just showing you my DVDs. Next is my all-time favourite film, Romeo and Juliet, the Baz Luhrmann 1996 version. When you watch a Baz Luhrmann film, you know that it's by Baz Luhrmann. It's just quirky and out there, and I love this film, although I cry my eyes out at the end of this film. Next is 50/50, and this has Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I don't know, Seth Rogen. It's about a young guy that gets cancer, and it's got a bit of a love story in it, and all that jazz. I really liked this film, and I'm glad I picked it up. Next, 2 DVDs are Sex and the City and Sex and the City 2. Some people didn't like the second one that much, but I honestly loved both of them. It's Sex and the City. I'm gonna love anything they could do. Next is The Moaning of Life, starring Karl Pilkington. And he basically has this really funny blunt view on life, and Ricky Gervais, he sends them out on all these little tasks, and it's always just hilarious. It's really, really hard to explain, but if you look it up on YouTube, it is so funny. Next is Juno. I've not opened this DVD, but I have watched this film probably about 5 times. But I love Juno. I feel like this came out ages ago. It's about a young teen that gets pregnant, and the soundtrack is also really good too. Next is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Adore the book. Was kind of disappointed by the film. There's a little bit in my heart that loves this film just because I love the book so much. I have 2 more piles of films. Oh, I just dropped them everywhere. We have Girl Interrupted, Forrest Gump. How could you not love Forrest Gump? I've got We the Millers. I actually really, really liked this film. It's not one of my all-time favourite films, but if you're going to watch a comedy, I would say watch We the Millers. It's really good. Life as We Know It. I really enjoyed this film. Next is Despicable Me 2. I don't know why I don't have Despicable Me. I'm not a huge fan of cartoons and things like that, but I really like Despicable Me. I'm pretty sure it's mainly because of the Minions. Next is 8 Mile, carrying on my Eminem obsession when I was a youngster. Life of Pi, Inception, another Leonardo DiCaprio film. The Proposal is your bog standard rom-com, but I really enjoy it. This is a very young Leonardo DiCaprio film. This is the Basketball Diaries, and it's about a young guy that gets addicted to drugs, and it's a good film. Horrible Bosses, your bog standard comedy. Dallas Buyers Club. I really wanted to see this because it had Jared Leto in it, and Doug actually bought this for me because he knew how much I wanted to watch it. It's an interesting film. Next is Cherry Bomb. I nearly just poked myself in the eye then. This is Rupert Grint, Kimberly Nixon, and Robert Sheehan. Yeah, it was quite a fun film to watch. Next is Her. I really, really wanted to see this when I saw it advertised at cinema, so Doug and I got the DVD. It has the guy from Walk the Line. Where is my Walk the Line DVD? I swear I had that on DVD. That's probably another DVD that I don't have here. But I'm a huge fan of Johnny Cash, and Walk the Line is based on his life. And this is the guy that plays Johnny Cash in Walk the Line, and so obviously that kind of made me want to see this film a little bit more. It is a good watch, and it is completely different to any other film that I've seen, so I do recommend it. Eat, Love, Pray is again one of my favourite films. This film I haven't watched. It's called The Help. I bought this in HMV because I'd heard a lot about it and it was on special offer. If you guys have seen this, what do you think of it? Is it any good? Next is The Ugly Truth. Again, your stereotypical rom-com, but I really enjoyed it. Next is Wanderlust. I really enjoyed this film. It has Jennifer Aniston in and Paul Rudd, 2 of my favourite actors. Next is The Hangover 3. I don't know why I had The Hangover 3, but then none of the others. I like all the Hangover films. I think this was about £1 in HMV. It's called Office Space, and it's got Jennifer Aniston in, so I thought, oh yeah, it's gonna be good. It was a bit naff. Next is Remember Me. When I first watched this, I almost had a meltdown. It's so emotional. Next is It's Complicated. I really, really like this film. Ghost, a classic film. I bought this knowing that I really wanted to watch this. I just haven't gotten around to watching it. Next is Safe Haven. Toy Story 3. Toy Story was the first ever film I watched in the cinema when I was about 4 or 5. I have a Peppa Pig DVD. Don't even ask me why I have a Peppa Pig DVD. I just have a Peppa Pig DVD. I have Of Mice and Men. My stepdad bought this for me when I was studying Of Mice and Men in GCSE, and I just didn't understand the book, and he bought me the DVD, and I actually really enjoyed the DVD, and I cried at quite a bit at the end. Then I do cry at almost every film. Ah, flipping heck, they're falling over everywhere. Oh, I nearly knocked the Coke over. we have these DVDs left. We have Madagascar. I think my dad bought this for me when I was about, well, when it came out on DVD. When was that? 2005. Next is Deck the Halls. I bought this last year for Christmas. I actually don't know where the DVD has gone. Next is Big Daddy. It's got Adam Sandler in, and I just love Big Daddy. It's such a good film. Ratatouille. I don't like many cartoony films, but this is one of the films that I do like. Ghost World. I think I enjoyed it. Can't remember. It was a long time ago that I watched this. It's Just Not That Into You. Another rom-com. I really enjoyed this though. I think I've watched this maybe 4 or 5 times. And again, it's got Jennifer Aniston in, Drew Barrymore, Ben Affleck, Ken Connolly, Bradley Cooper, Scarlett Johansson. So many famous faces. It's one of those films like Love Actually where there's lots of different storylines and they all kind of link in together. Slumdog Millionaire, Anna Karina, something like that. It has Aaron Johnson in, which I think you guys probably know by now. I have a little bit of an obsession with Aaron Johnson. And the last one is The Lake House. I have watched this. It was a long time ago, but I did really enjoy it. But that's it. That is my film collection. These aren't all the films that I love or would like to have on DVD. This is just what I purely have in the house right now. Let me know what your favourite films are and your favourite box sets and any films that you recommend. And as always, I will see you in my next video. Bye!